In the early 20th century, the world still held vast, uncharted territories, blank spaces on the map whispering of adventure. One man was more captivated by these mysteries than any other, Colonel Percy Harrison Fawcett, a geographer and soldier. He was a figure of immense resolve, hardened by years in the Royal Artillery and driven by an insatiable curiosity. Fawcett was not just a map maker, he was a romantic, a mystic, and a man obsessed with what lay beyond. His early expeditions to South America to map borders for the Royal Geographical Society were legendary for their hardship. He faced treacherous terrain, relentless insects, and the constant threat of the unknown, yet he always returned. These journeys fueled a growing conviction that a great civilization had once flourished deep within the Amazon jungle. He found fragments of evidence, stories from local tribes, and ancient documents that all pointed to one thing. He gave this obsession a name, a destination that would consume the rest of his life: the lost city of Z. For Fawcett, Z was not just a city of gold, but the ultimate prize of discovery, the final frontier on Earth. The idea of a lost city wasn't born from pure fantasy. It was pieced together from tantalizing clues. A key piece was Manuscript 512, a Portuguese document from 1753 discovered in the National Library of Brazil. It described a group of explorers who had found the ruins of a sophisticated stone city deep in the interior. The manuscript spoke of wide streets, multi-storied buildings, and statues, a stark contrast to the known Amazonian cultures. Fawcett cross-referenced these tales with oral histories from indigenous tribes he encountered on his border surveys. They spoke of stone houses and white Indians, legends passed down through generations that hinted at a forgotten past. He also found strange, intricate pottery far from any known settlements, suggesting a complex society had once traded there. To the academic world, the idea was preposterous. The Amazon's soil was thought too poor to support a large population. But Fawcett was convinced they were wrong. He believed Z was not just possible, but that he knew where to find it. This conviction would lead him to plan one final, audacious expedition from which he would never return. Fawcett's previous journeys were brutal trials that tested the limits of human endurance, preparing him for his final quest. His team would travel for months, their supplies dwindling, their bodies pushed to the breaking point by the relentless jungle. Navigating the labyrinthine rivers was a constant challenge, with unpredictable currents and submerged obstacles. The environment itself was an adversary. Unseen creatures moved in the undergrowth, their calls echoing through the trees. Fever and sickness were constant companions, weakening the explorers and thinning their ranks on more than one occasion. They survived on meager rations, supplemented by whatever the jungle provided, often going hungry for days. Yet, through it all, Fawcett's resolve never wavered. He documented everything meticulously in his journals. He learned to respect the jungle, to read its signs, and to navigate its dangers with a cautious confidence. These experiences created a myth around him. A man who was supposedly indestructible, almost a part of the jungle itself. This reputation would make his eventual disappearance all the more shocking and profound. How could such a man simply vanish? In 1925, after years of planning and fundraising, Fawcett was ready for his ultimate attempt to find Z. This time, he decided on a small, agile team, believing a large expedition would attract too much unwanted attention. He chose two companions. The first was his eldest son, Jack Fawcett, who was just 21 years old. Jack was strong and loyal, and Fawcett believed he was the perfect partner to share in this great discovery. The third member was Jack's close friend, Raleigh Rimmel, chosen for his enthusiasm and physical fitness. The trio posed for photographs before their departure, full of hope and the thrill of the adventure ahead. They landed in Brazil and traveled overland to Cuiabá, the last outpost of civilization on the edge of the wilderness. Here, they gathered their final supplies, mules, canned goods, and tools for the long journey into the unknown. Fawcett was confident. He instructed that no rescue party should be sent if they failed to return. On April 20th, 1925, Percy Fawcett, his son, and Raleigh Rimmel walked into the Mato Grosso jungle and out of the known world. For the first month, the expedition proceeded as planned. Dispatches sent back with local guides were filled with optimism. Fawcett's letters described the beauty of the landscape, the waterfalls, and the vibrant wildlife they encountered. He praised his companions, noting Jack's strength and Raleigh's unwavering good humor despite the hardships. They were making good time, pushing deeper into territory that was completely uncharted by outsiders. The days were long and grueling, involving river crossings and navigating through dense, thorny underbrush. Evenings were spent around a campfire, the sounds of the nocturnal jungle creating a constant, living soundtrack. Fawcett felt they were on the verge of his great discovery, his excitement palpable in his writing. He wrote to his wife, Nina, expressing his high hopes and unwavering belief in the mission's success. The initial phase of the journey was a picture of classic adventure, a prelude to the mystery to come. But as they prepared to enter the truly unknown territory, they sent back one final message to the outside world. On May 29, 1925, the expedition reached a spot Fawcett grimly named Dead Horse Camp. It was here that one of their pack animals had succumbed, a stark reminder of the journey's harsh reality. From this camp, Fawcett penned his final dispatch, which would be carried back by a local guide. The letter was addressed to his wife, Nina, and it became the expedition's final, haunting testament. In it, he described their location and their plan to venture into unexplored territory to the east. Despite the hardships, his tone was not one of despair, but of soaring confidence and anticipation. He wrote, "You need have no fear of any failure." It was a promise he seemingly could not keep. This was the last anyone ever heard from Percy Fawcett, his son Jack, or Raleigh Rimmel. After the guide departed, the three men turned their faces eastward and walked into a curtain of green. Behind them, a trail of footprints. Ahead of them, a wall of silence that would last for eternity. Months passed. The vibrant summer of 1925 turned to autumn, and still, there was no word. At first, there was little concern. Fawcett was known for long periods of silence during his expeditions. His wife, Nina, held on to the hope from his last letter, trusting in his skill and resilience. But as 1925 drew to a close and a year had passed, a quiet unease began to ripple through the public. By 1927, 2 years after their departure, the unease had grown into genuine, widespread alarm. The man who had forbidden a rescue was now the subject of intense speculation and concern. The world had been captivated by his quest, and now it was captivated by his silence. The blank space on the map he had sought to fill had seemingly swallowed him whole. Ignoring his final wishes, the pressure to mount a search became overwhelming. The mystery had to be solved. Thus began one of the greatest manhunts in history, a series of desperate forays into the green abyss. Over the next few decades, more than a dozen official and unofficial expeditions plunged into the Amazon to find Fawcett. These search parties faced the same dangers that Fawcett had, and many of them met with their own tragic ends. They followed up on countless rumors, tales of a tall white man held captive, or a strange elder living with a tribe. Each lead would send them on grueling treks through the jungle, only to end in disappointment and dead ends. In 1932, a Swiss trapper emerged from the jungle carrying a shrunken head, claiming it belonged to Fawcett. However, scientific analysis later proved that the grisly artifact was not that of the missing explorer. Perhaps the most tantalizing clue was Fawcett's own compass, discovered by a search party in 1933. It was found in the possession of a local tribe, adding fuel to the fire of speculation, but providing no real answers. In the 1950s, a Kalapalo tribe recounted an oral history of 3 explorers who had passed through their lands. They claimed the men, who fit Fawcett's party's description, had gone eastward and were never seen again. With no body and no definitive proof, theories about Fawcett's fate flourished, ranging from the plausible to the fantastic. The most straightforward theory is that they simply succumbed to the perils of the jungle. They could have been taken by a sudden illness, a river accident, or an encounter with a dangerous animal. Another prominent theory suggests they had a hostile encounter with an uncontacted tribe, wary of outsiders. The Kalapalo tribe's oral history supports this, claiming a neighboring, more aggressive tribe was responsible for their demise. A more romantic theory is that Fawcett chose to disappear, to go native, and live out his days in the jungle. Some believe he found his city of Z and decided to stay, guarding its secrets from the outside world. This fits with his mystical leanings and his desire to protect the sanctity of his ultimate discovery. In 2005, journalist David Gran investigated a set of bones found in the Kalapalo region, hoping for a final answer. However, DNA testing was inconclusive. The bones were not Fawcett's. The mystery once again deepened. Though he never returned, Percy Fawcett's story has inspired generations of adventurers, writers, and filmmakers. He has become a symbol of the ultimate explorer, the man who walked off the edge of the map. For decades, his belief in a large Amazonian civilization was dismissed as a romantic fantasy. But in recent years, satellite imagery and archaeological work have revealed something incredible. Deep in the Amazon, precisely where Fawcett suspected, evidence of vast, ancient urban clusters has been found. These were not cities of stone, but complex societies with roads, canals, and large populations hidden for centuries. In a way, Fawcett was right. A lost civilization did exist. He was just looking for the wrong thing. His personal fate remains unknown, a question mark forever hanging over the Amazon's green canopy. Perhaps the mystery is his true legacy, a reminder that some frontiers are not meant to be fully conquered. He walked into the jungle seeking a lost city, and in the end, he became a lost legend himself.